Good morning to all of you. You audible now? In last class, we were discussing economic policy and economic impact. Both these two topics are connected with each other, so it's not good to separate them. Okay, so that's why we are discussing this entire chapter in an integrated manner. Now I'm coming to discuss a few new concepts here that again are very important for you. So in the very first class, when I started this chapter, I have discussed with you three divisions. Okay, I hope you all remember this. Okay, while discussing this economic history, we have discussed about the three divisions here. One was period of mercantilism, that was from 1757 to 1813. Do you recall these informations? That was the first phase. The second phase was period of free trade, that is also called period of free trade. Okay, or there is another name of this, that is called period of industrial capitalism, or we can say this was a period of industrial capitalism. Period of industrial capitalism, and this phase was from 1813 to 1858. Okay, this you will find that you can write 1857 also. So many historians write 1857, many write 1858. Okay, so we are okay with both these two dates. And the third is period of industrial capitalism. Okay, that was the third phase, period of industrial capitalism. And this is also called period of finance capitalism, period of industrial capitalism or finance capitalism. And here the time period will be from 1858 to 1947. This will be the time period. Now you can trace out some important developments that took place in these phases. Now what are these important developments? When East India Company will get administrative rights, the main source of revenue for East India Company will be land revenue, plus benefits from the trade and commerce, plus the economic loot that it's doing. Okay, that is the main source of revenue. It means what we see that land revenue policies, land revenue policies will first appear in which phase? First phase. We have already discussed it. Land revenue policies will appear in first phase. अब आपको कनेक्ट करना है चीज़ों को, ठीक है ना, ध्यान से सोचना है. It's not only what you are writing, just think. Land revenue policies first appear in which phase? First phase. For example, dual system of governance phase, Warren Hastings, even Cornwallis. Okay, but it will be continued in the later phases also. Okay, so we see what continuance of this feature in later phases. Obviously it will be continued. Later phases में क्या होगा? It will be continued. For example, we see Rayatwadi system of settle, Rayatwadi system, Mahalwadi system. Okay, you all know na, this is what 1820s. It was applied as a at a wider level. Okay, land revenue, Mahalwadi. So this is what continuance. Land revenue policies will appear here, and this feature will be continued. Now what we see here is that here the main source of British revenue, the main source of revenue was land revenue. That was the main source of revenue. That was the main source of revenue. But when British will establish themselves, consolidate their trade and commerce, and now they are rulers also, so don't you think that their revenue sources will be diversified? Okay, so the proportion of land revenue will decrease because other sources of revenues will be generated. It does not mean that overall land revenue amount will come down. No, other sources of revenue also generated. Now, another important development that we see here, that in 1813, what is the most important development that I have already discussed with you? One of the most important development in 1813, वो क्या था? Can you suggest me the point? Monopolistic rights of EIC were ended partially, not completely. That is one of the most important decisions. So this we have already discussed, that monopolistic rights of EIC were ended, but not completely. But not completely. Okay, it means free trade, it will be retained, and trade with China, it will be retained. These two things. Free trade, it will be retained, and trade with China, it will be retained. And what is the meaning of this term, monopolistic rights of EIC ended? It simply means that monopolistic right ended means EIC can do trade and commerce, but other players are also allowed to come to India. Now, for indigo cultivation, European businessmen can come to India or not? Yes, they can come to India. For indigo plantation, they can come to India. So methods you all know, Nice method, Rayati method. Okay. So what we see is that, read this. Now gates of India were thrown open for other British merchants also. It means gates of India now were thrown open for other British merchants also. Gates of India were thrown open to other British merchants also. इंडिया में वो भी आ सकते थे. That is a very simple concept. Okay. But in India, they could come, they could do trade and commerce, they could not purchase land, they could not settle. अभी ऐसा provision नहीं था. One more thing will happen here, that 1813 Christian missionaries will be allowed to come to India. What could be the purpose? To consolidate their presence. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? So in 1813, right, Christian missionaries were also allowed to come to India. Christian missionaries were also allowed to come to India in 1813 in the name of promotion of health and education, in the name of promotion of missionary activities. Okay, Christian missionaries were also allowed to come to India in the name of promotion of missionary activities, right? In the name of promotion of health, in the name of promotion of education, they will be allowed to come to India. Now what will happen? They are allowed to come to India. Christian missionaries are allowed to come to India. Now another important development take place in the same phase. इसी phase में अगला important development क्या है? देखो, 1833 charter. Write this. 1833 charter. That is the another development here. 1833 charter. And what is the most important point here in 1833 charter? Monopolistic rights of EIC were ended completely. So write this. Here the monopolistic rights of EIC were ended completely. Monopolistic rights of EIC were ended completely. Okay. And one more thing will happen. Now the European traders and businessmen were allowed to come. They could settle in India. They could purchase lands in India. It means their privileges were increased. ठीक है ना? This will happen. उनकी privileges और बढ़ा दी जाएगी. Read this. European merchants were now also authorized, or they were given right. They were given rights to purchase lands, and to settle in India. They were given rights to purchase land and to settle in India. It means their privileges were increased. ठीक है, अब बिल्कुल इंडिया उनके मामा के घर जैसा है. जब चाहे आ सकते हैं, ज़मीनों में खरीद सकते हैं, रह सकते हैं, राइट? Their privileges were increased. 1833 charter. Now, tell me one thing. This phase, the colonial historians write this as a period of free trade. So this is the period of free trade for whom? For Indians or for Britishers? So it was the colonial historians write this, that it was the period of free trade and open trade. But the irony of the fact is, it was neither free nor open for Indians, but Now it was free and open for the Britishers. Okay, so write this point that colonial historians, okay, refer to this phase as the period of open and free trade. Colonial historians refer to this phase as the phase of open and free trade, but it was neither free nor open, but it was neither free nor open for the Indian merchants. It was neither free nor open for the Indian merchants. Rather, it was free and open for the British merchants or the traders group. Rather, it was free and open for the British merchants and the traders group. It was free and open for the British merchants and British trading groups. Clear? Colonialism का मतलब कुछ कुछ समझ रहे हो? The British will say that we are promoting free and open trade, but actually they are promoting their free and open trade. What will be the impact of this? Many plantation industries will come into existence or not? By this 1813 and 1833, what will happen in India? Read this. Many plantation industries that were set up by Britishers, many plantation industries will be developed in India. Many plantation industries will be developed in India. And here the owner of these plantations were the British, and the workers who were working in these plantations were the Indians. This is colonialism, right? Many plantation, indigo plantation, jute plantation, okay, many such plantations will be developed in India. Okay, owner of these plantations were the European masters or the British masters, and the workers were the Indians. Workers Indians. Got it? This is colonialism. So in initial phase, now we see the colonial historians use the word, what is the word? Period of industrial capitalism. So which kind of industries were set up by the British in India? Plantation industries. It's not iron and steel industry. It is what? Plantation industry. Okay. And who is getting all the benefits from these plantation industry? British, because they are the planters, they are the owners. तो सारा benefit तो उन्हीं को मिल रहा है ना. Okay, so this is the beginning of plantation industries in India. Okay, so in initial phase, the British developed what? A kind of plantation industries. Clear? This is one thing. Now, Christian missionaries concept in last class I have discussed that Christian missionaries will promote Christianity. Okay, and in this way, when they will promote conversion, so Indians will be good consumer of the British goods. ठीक है ना? So in this way, what will happen? The supply of British goods or the export of British goods will increase. Is it clear? And British will do what? British will use non-uniform, you can say that discriminatory tariff policy further to promote their goods. Clear? तो ये free trade हमारे लिए नहीं है, किसके लिए है? British के लिए. Okay? So in this phase, what we see that already, देखो इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन कब से स्टार्ट हुआ? 1760s. तो यहाँ पे आते आते क्या हो चुका है? एक्सपेंशन ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल revolution. Okay, expansion of industrial revolution. Now more raw materials is needed, and okay, wider market is needed, and for that you have to create new consumers. This is what capitalism, creating new consumers. Okay, for example, this is consumerism. In today's world also, we have started using a lot of things that are really not needed by us. So market does not only fulfills our needs, but market also creates okay new needs. ठीक है, कुछ टाइम बाद आपको लगने लगेगा कि बिना हेयर जेल के, ठीक है, बाल ठीक नहीं रहेगा. ठीक है, मेरी कुक ने आज सुबह सुबह ये एडवाइस दिया कि भैया या तो आप बाल छोटे करा लो, ठीक है, क्योंकि आप टीचर हो, नहीं तो आप हेयर जेल लगाओ. ठीक है, तो देखो एक प्रोडक्ट आ गया था, राइट. So market does what? Market does not only fulfill our needs, market creates new needs. एंड व्हाट ब्रिटिश आर डूइंग, दे आर क्रिएटिंग न्यू नीड्स इन इंडिया एट दैट टाइम, ठीक है ना। वो क्या कर रहे हैं, नए नीड्स को क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, गॉट इट। दे आर क्रिएटिंग न्यू नीड्स बाय मेकिंग न्यू कंज्यूमर्स, okay, and at the same time they are using what, discriminatory tariff policy. They are also using what, discriminatory tariff policy, and in this way they did what, they further increased export of British goods in India, export of British goods in India. इंडिया में क्या किया, एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ ब्रिटिश गुड्स, और ज़्यादा ब्रिटिश गुड्स का इन्फ्लक्स हो गया इंडिया में. इज इट क्लियर, दिस एंटायर फेज इज क्लियर, ओके. हम्म. 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 एक्सेक्टली. टी प्लांटेशन, कॉफ़ी प्लांटेशंस बड़े ऑर्गेनाइज लेवल पे, ठीक है, उसको ब्रिटिश ने स्टार्ट किया था, ठीक है ना. इनिशियल स्टेज द ब्रिटिश वर द ओनर्स, ठीक है, एंड ग्रेजुअली इट विल कम इन द हैंड्स ऑफ द इंडियन कैपिटलिस्ट दैट आई विल डिस्कस, ओके. तो इस फेज के सारे इंपॉर्टेंट डेवलपमेंट आपको पता चले. That land revenue system is continued plus these new features. Now one more thing will happen here, and I am using new slide for this. One more thing, this was the second phase, that is 1813 to 1857 58. This phase we are talking, second phase we are talking, okay. Or second phase में, okay, there is an important development in Europe, and what is that important development, ये भी आपको समझना है. That is very important topic, important development in Europe. You have to connect the themes, you have to read important facts. जितने facts यहाँ बताया क्या वो prelims में आए हुए हैं, 1813 charter, okay, Christian missionaries were allowed to come and all this, because these are important facts, ठीक है. देखो क्या होता है, important development is in Europe, and what is this, right, 1848 कम्युनिस्ट मैनिफेस्टो. 1848 में क्या है, कम्युनिस्ट मैनिफेस्टो. इन 1848 कम्युनिस्ट मैनिफेस्टो. और कम्युनिस्ट मैनिफेस्टो क्या है, ओके, दिस इज अ काइंड ऑफ बाइबल, आइडिया ऑफ कम्युनिज्म. मार्क्स एंड एंजल्स रोट दिस, क्लियर. और सोशलिस्ट आइडियाज इसके पहले भी थे, ऐसा नहीं कि अचानक यहाँ आया है. दैट आई विल डिस्कस इन वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री, बट हियर व्हाट वी सी, द रेडिकल फॉर्म ऑफ socialist ideas comes to picture, radical form of socialism, and that is what, communism. Radical form of socialism is what, communism. Radical form of socialism, socialism का ही कट्टर रूप, कट्टर वर्जन, radical version, that is communism. And communism believes in what, use of force, violence. Communism believes in a revolution, ठीक है, रिवॉल्यूशन. और भी ऐसी कई सारी आइडियाज हैं कम्युनिज्म में. एबोलिशन ऑफ प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी, abolition of private property. Communism believes in these ideas, abolition of private property. And this idea was getting popular in Europe very rapidly. This idea was getting popular in Europe very rapidly. Read this. This idea was getting popularity in Europe. This idea was getting popularity in Europe very rapidly. ये आइडिया यूरोप में बहुत तेजी से पॉपुलर होता था. It was getting popularity in Europe very rapidly. It was getting popularity. ठीक है. Now this idea will become popular where? In Britain also. This idea will become popular in Britain also. And now the British capitalists will fear, if this idea will become popular in Britain, if, okay, this idea becomes practical, becomes successful, then we may lose our private property. जिसके पास पैसा उसको डर लगेगा, okay. So they need a safe, okay, you can say destination to accumulate their, to park their accumulated wealth. They need a safe destination. उनको खतरा है कि ब्रिटेन में अगर कम्युनिज्म का एक्सपेंशन हो गया, ये अगर पॉपुलर हो गया, एक प्रैक्टिकल आइडिया के रूप में इस्टेब्लिश हो गया, तो उनकी प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी खतरे में आ सकती। उनको क्या चाहिए? नाउ दे नीड अ सेफ डेस्टिनेशन, एक सेफ जगह जहाँ पर कि वो अपने एक्यूमुलेटेड वेल्थ को पार्क कर सके। एंड इन इंडिया दिस टाइम सोशलिज्म, कम्युनिज्म, दीज आइडियाज वेर नॉट पॉपुलर। वो कब आएगा? आफ्टर फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर, ड्यूरिंग फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर, 1917 के बाद इंडिया में पॉपुलर होगा। तो द सेफेस्ट डेस्टिनेशन टू पार्क द एक्यूमुलेटेड वेल्थ वाज इंडिया। इंडिया में अपना पैसा आप ले जाके इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हो, पार्क कर सकते हो, ठीक है। अब ये आइडिया आएगा। सो यू कैन राइट हियर दैट द ब्रिटिश कैपिटलिस्ट्स feared for the loss of their private property. The British capitalists feared for the loss of their private property. The British capitalists feared for the loss of their private property. और ये देखो कब के बाद है? 1848 के बाद ये ट्रेंड देखने को मिलेगा। The British capitalists will fear the loss of their private property. So they needed, read this. So they needed a safe destination. So they needed a safe destination to park their accumulated wealth. To park their accumulated wealth, right? They needed a safe destination to park their accumulated wealth. ठीक है, उनको एक सेफ डेस्टिनेशन चाहिए था where they could park their accumulated wealth, and India was providing the most favorable conditions for this. So India was that favorable destination. India was that favorable destination because communist ideas, okay, were not popular in India at this time. Communist ideas were not popular in India at this time. Communist ideas were not popular in India at this time. Got it? Communist ideas were not popular at this time. So what will happen? Capitalist सीधे इंडिया में आके सेटल हो जाएंगे. Many of the capitalists will come. They will purchase land in India. They will open plantations. अपना सारा पैसा कहाँ इन्वेस्ट कर देंगे? इंडिया में. और गवर्नमेंट हैज़ ऑथराइज्ड देम 1833 चार्टर कि आप इंडिया में आ सकते हो, आप इंडिया में लैंड परचेज कर सकते हो. अब आप समझ रहे हो ना कि वाई ब्रिटिश पीपल आर कमिंग टू इंडिया. दिस इज ऑल्सो वन रीजन, okay, that British capitalists will come to India and will invest their money in plantation industries. Got it? This is also one reason. So write this. Okay, this is also one reason. This is also one reason why British capitalists came to India and invested their money in plantation industries. Invested their money in plantation industries. They came to India and invested their money in plantation industries. There's also one reason that British capitalists came to India and invested their money in. कॉन्सेप्ट डिफिकल्ट तो नहीं है ना? देखो पढ़ना तो पड़ेगा ही, आज नहीं पढ़ोगे कल पढ़ोगे, ठीक है? तो बेटर फिनिश इट इन अ सिंगल गो. व्हेन यू आर रीडिंग मॉडर्न इंडिया, फिनिश इट कंप्लीटली. दोबारा कुछ इसमें रह ही नहीं जाए पढ़ने को. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? कंप्लीट द मॉड्यूल, कंप्लीट द PYQs. एक अटेम्प्ट देना पड़े, 2 अटेम्प्ट देना पड़े, ठीक है? ये मॉड्यूल से फिर कोई वास्ता आपका ना हो, ठीक है ना? तो प्रिपरेशन शुड बी लाइक दिस. एक पॉइंट आपको पता चला. नाउ द अनदर important point that I am going to indicate here is that I am asking you a very simple question. I hope all of you are knowing this, that development of physical infrastructure in India that was started by British started during the time of Dalhousie. और डलहौजी कब से कब तक था विपिन? 1848 टू, हाँ ना? दिस इज द टाइम पीरियड ऑफ डलहौजी. ओके, इट मीन्स डेवलपमेंट ऑफ फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज ऑल्सो टेकिंग प्लेस एट दिस टाइम. रेलवेज कब है? 1853. फेज कौन सा है? सेकेंड फेज. समझ में आया ना? तो राइट दिस पॉइंट ऑल्सो दैट डेवलपमेंट ऑफ फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, डेवलपमेंट ऑफ फिजिकल infrastructure in India by British government, or you can say that company, and by company, development of physical infrastructure in India by company. तो यहाँ पे एक सबसे important नाम है, that is Lord Dalhousie. Clear? He is known for this. तो उसके अचीवमेंट्स हैं इससे रिलेटेड 1848 टू 1856, ठीक है. In India, Lord Dalhousie was the Governor General of India. We all know this fact. Lord Dalhousie was the Governor General of India. And infrastructure means what? Roads, railways, postal and telegraph network. Okay, so write this. Infrastructure means physical and social infrastructure. Physical infrastructure में हो जाएगा roads, railways, postal and telegraph network. Social infrastructure में health and education facilities. This all. Physical infrastructure, roads, railways, postal and telegraph network. That is considered to be the part of physical infrastructure, right? Roads, railways, postal and telegraph network. And social infrastructure, what is that? So that is health and education. That is considered to be the part of social infrastructure. So these two infrastructures will be promoted. Railways, development of railways, right? 1853. Development of railways, in which year? First railway line 18 to 1853 from Bombay to Thane. Bombay to Thane. So here I will discuss one point, and that is, in India, the British were developing railways in this phase. So we are focusing on this topic, that is development of railways. Few dimensions we need to understand. Clear? So railways need what? Investment. Okay, you need to invest money for the development of railways. Now the question is, who will invest? Who will invest in the development of railways in India? Okay, and the concept is very interesting. The British government here, okay, we all know the British government. British government did what? Okay, British government promised or guaranteed the British investors. British government promised or guaranteed the British investors that if they will invest their money in the development of railways in India, they will get, okay, exactly, or guaranteed assured or guaranteed profit, assured and guaranteed profit on their investments. Okay, assured or guaranteed profit on their investments, ranging from, it means the range of this profit will be 5 to 12%. So they are promised that they will get assured and guaranteed benefit on their investment ranging from 5 to 12%. Who is assuring you? Who is giving guarantee? Who is giving this guarantee? Government itself is giving this guarantee. Okay? Government itself is giving this guarantee. And this is assured guaranteed profit. And this is what? Minimum profit. इतना क्या है? Guaranteed है. Minimum 5 to 12%. इससे ज़्यादा भी हो सकता है. And who is giving this guarantee? Government. अगर गवर्नमेंट इस तरह की गारंटी दे, ठीक है, टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस में ये ना हो कि भाई, है ना, इन्वेस्टर का रिस्क खुद का है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं. हियर हु इज टेकिंग रिस्पांसिबिलिटी? गवर्नमेंट इज टेकिंग रिस्पांसिबिलिटी. डू यू थिंक दैट इट विल अट्रैक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट्स for the development of railways in India? Yes. Now, if I am a British citizen, I will invest money for the development of railways in India, and I will get benefit, dividends, and this will again go back to England. तो इंडिया में रेलवे का डेवलपमेंट होगा, और इस डेवलपमेंट से जो प्रॉफिट हो रहा है वो भी कहाँ वापस चला जा रहा है? इंग्लैंड. दैट इज ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ. नाउ व्हाट अबाउट द इंडियन इन्वेस्टर्स? वेयर दे अलाउड टू इन्वेस्ट? द आंसर इज नो. देखो, गवर्नमेंट सीधे नो नहीं कहती है, प्रोसेस को बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेट बना देती है. तो जिसका मतलब क्या होता है? नो, राइट. और ये भी हमने सीखा है कॉलोनियल गवर्नमेंट से. सरकारी ऑफिस में कोई काम करवाना हो, 20 दिन दौड़ाते वो घूस नहीं मांगते. दे डोंट आस्क फॉर ब्राइब. यू विल गो 20 days, 1 month, 2 month, देन यू विल ऑफर, ठीक है, योर सेल्फ, कि भाई कुछ ले लो और मेरा काम कर दो, बहुत ज़्यादा खर्च हो रहा है आने जाने में. ओके, so this will happen here. Read this. Indian investments were not welcomed. Indian investments were not welcomed here. Indian investments were not welcomed. Indian investments were not welcomed. Is this discrimination? Yes. Okay. This is colonialism. कि डेवलपमेंट इंडिया में हो रहा है और उसका बेनिफिट किसको मिल रहा है? मदर नेशन, पेरेंट कंट्री को. दिस इज व्हाट? कॉलोनियलिज्म. गॉट इट? सो दिस इज वन पॉइंट. नाउ दिस इज वन एस्पेक्ट. ओके, कनेक्ट भी आपने किया इसको. कम्युनिस्ट आइडियाज गेटिंग पॉपुलर, so the people will invest more. Now the second important point, railways में you need what? Steel, iron and steel. ये आपको चाहिए ना, iron and steel. Plus development of railways will require what? Wood, that is wooden logs. Logs of wood, wooden logs. So British will do what? Did they set up iron and steel industry in India? No. कितना इजी था कि यू कैन सेटअप आयरन एंड स्टील इंडस्ट्री. हमारे पास रॉ मटेरियल्स भी थे. यू कैन सेटअप इंडस्ट्रीज ऑल्सो एंड यू कैन डेवलप रेलवेज. रेल की पटरी बनाने के लिए चाहिए ना आयरन. ब्रिटिश डिड व्हाट? दे इंपोर्टेड आयरन एंड स्टील फ्रॉम ब्रिटेन. आयरन एंड स्टील इंडस्ट्री टाटा 1907 टाटा ने लगाया, ब्रिटिश ने नहीं लगाया. ठीक है. सो दे विल इंपोर्ट आयरन एंड स्टील फ्रॉम ब्रिटेन. इससे क्या होगा? ब्रिटेन एक्सपोर्ट्स विल इंक्रीज. और ब्रिटेन का एक्सपोर्ट बढ़ेगा तो बैलेंस ऑफ ट्रेड सरप्लस किसका होगा? ब्रिटेन का. हु विल गेट द अल्टीमेट बेनिफिट्स? ब्रिटिश विल गेट द अल्टीमेट बेनिफिट. तो ये बात आपको समझनी है. राइट दिस पॉइंट दैट ओके, दिस इंडस्ट्री was not set up in India by British, not set up in India by British. Iron and steel industry was not set up in India by British. Instead, they do what? They imported iron and steel from Britain. They imported iron and steel from Britain. This industry was not set up in India. They imported iron and steel from Britain. और इससे क्या होगा? It will maximize what? Britain's export. It will maximize what? Britain's export, and ultimately British economy will get benefits of this. Ultimately, who will get benefits? British economy will get benefits of this. Clear? The idea is very simple, that this iron and steel industry was not set up by British in India, and it was the need. Okay, the task could become more easier, but they are not doing this because this industry can give competition to the British itself. They don't want competition, they want to eliminate the competition. So they imported iron and steel from Britain, and this maximized British exports. And we can say that who got the ultimate benefits of this? So the British got the ultimate benefits of this system. That is the point. Okay, this is colonialism. कॉलोनियलिज्म के इतने सारे एग्जाम्पल्स आपके पास होंगे. ओके, दिस इज कॉलोनियलिज्म, है कि नहीं कॉलोनियलिज्म? एंड प्लस इसके लिए आप क्या करोगे? यू विल यूज एंड यूटिलाइज व्हाट? इंडियन फॉरेस्ट. यू विल यूज एंड यूटिलाइज व्हाट? इंडियन फॉरेस्ट. ठीक है. नॉट ओनली इंडियन फॉरेस्ट. ओके, नेपाल इज एन important destination. Burma is an important destination where they could fulfill their requirements. Okay. Okay. Yes, Bipin, ask your question. देखो, ऑब्वियसली उनको रॉ मटेरियल चाहिए ना, एंड रॉ मटेरियल डज नॉट ओनली मीन रॉ कॉटन और रॉ जूट. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? ओके, इट इंक्लूड्स एवरीथिंग. ठीक है ना? इवन द मिनरल्स ऑल्सो, foods also. Okay, but here what they are doing? They are importing. Lastly, okay, Tata will open this Cisco. और फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर में ज़रूरत थी आयरन एंड स्टील की ब्रिटिश को, और वो ज़रूरत पूरा किसने किया? टाटा ने. हमने पूरा किया. और इससे ब्रिटेन को भी लगा कि यार कॉलोनीज में भी अगर कुछ ऐसी इंडस्ट्रीज हों तो हमें हेल्प मिल सकती है ऐसे डिफ़िकल्ट सर्कमस्टेंसेस में. और फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर में वो बिजी भी थे और टाटा उनकी ज़रूरतें भी पूरी कर रहा था, तो उन्होंने टाटा को प्रॉस्पर होने दिया, नहीं तो वो नहीं होने देते. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? देयर ऑल्सो दे वर ट्राइंग टू सिक्योर देयर गेन्स. दिस इज वन पॉइंट. गॉट इट? आयरन एंड स्टील एंड ऑल दिस. नाउ द थर्ड पर्सपेक्टिव अबाउट द railways. that why railways were developed in India. This is the time period, na 1850s is the time period when railways is being developed in India. यही time period है. Now tell me one thing. Again, relate this fact. Industrial revolution कब है? 1760s. It means how much years? Almost 1 century has passed here. 1 century has passed. Almost 1 century has passed. तो इस 1 century में क्या हुआ इन इंग्लैंड? एक्सपेंशन ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल रिवॉल्यूशन. इससे नीड्स क्या होंगी वो रिलेट करना है. सो राइट दिस एक्सपेंशन ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल रिवॉल्यूशन इन इंग्लैंड ड्यूरिंग दिस पीरियड. एक्सपेंशन ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल रिवॉल्यूशन इन इंग्लैंड ड्यूरिंग दिस पीरियड. यहाँ क्या होता है? एक्सपेंशन ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल रिवॉल्यूशन. अब देखो एक्सपेंशन से क्या होगा? यू ऑल नो दिस. इट विल जनरेट नीड्स, more raw materials, and okay, a greater market for the supply of manufactured goods. तो इंडिया में ये जरूरत कैसे पूरी हो सकती है? पहला, एक तो कंज्यूमर नीड्स को चेंज कर दो, और दूसरा, इफ यू कैन रीच टू द इंटीरियर्स ऑफ इंडिया, तो फ्रॉम द इंटीरियर्स ऑफ इंडिया यू कैन गेट मोर रॉ मटेरियल्स. जहां नहीं पहुंच सकते वहां भी पहुंच जाओ. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? If you reach to the interiors of India, so that part will serve as the new market. नया market हो सकता है. So in order to reach the remote interiors of India, railways can be proved as useful or not. Yes, it means that now you can get more raw materials by using these railways, and you can reach to the new markets in the interiors of India for the supply of manufactured goods by using this railway. So this is again serving the purpose of Britain's industries. ठीक है, it is again serving the purpose of Britain's industries. So write this point. Okay, export क्या लिखा आपने? Almost 1 century have passed and expansion of industrial revolution in England. And write this. Okay, right. New needs, new needs. और ये new needs क्या है? We all know this. More raw materials were required, and more raw materials were required. More raw materials were required. This is the new need. More raw materials were required. Plus, okay, new markets were needed. More raw materials were required, and new markets were needed for the supply of manufactured goods. New markets were needed for the supply of manufactured goods. New raw materials, okay, new markets were needed for the supply of manufactured goods. नया मार्केट भी चाहिए for the supply of manufactured goods. Is it clear? Now write one point that okay, using railways, British could, or the company could easily reach, by using railways the company could easily reach, by using railways the company could easily reach to the remote interiors of India. The company could easily reach to the remote interiors of India, and they could fulfill their needs. They could fulfill their needs. They could easily reach to the remote interiors of India, and they could fulfill their needs. Got it? This is one idea. And what is the second idea? Colonial rule in India. कब से है? 1757 से. This is what? 1850s. How many years have passed? 100 years. और ये क्या है? 100 years of exploitation. Colonial rule started in 1757. This is 1850s. So this is 100 years of exploitation. So this 100 years of exploitation will promote what? Discontent among masses. और discontent remote interiors में भी हो सकता है. So once discontent will be expressed at one particular area, if you will not suppress that discontent, what will happen? It will spread. It will burst. It will be like a challenge for the colonial presence in India. तो जरूरत था कि कहीं पे भी अगर कोई छोटा मोटा रिवोल्ट भी हो तो जल्दी से जल्दी पहुंच के उसे सप्रेस कर दो. क्या उस काम में रेलवेज का यूज किया जा सकता है? Yes, it can be used. So write second point, write this. Okay, almost 1 century of colonial rule. Almost 1 century of colonial rule. And this was what? Almost 1 century of colonial exploitation. Almost 1 century of colonial rule was 1 century of colonial exploitation. 1 century of colonial exploitation. Almost 1 century of colonial rule was almost 1 century of colonial exploitation. There was huge discontent among the masses against the there was huge discontent among the masses. There was huge discontent among the masses against there was huge discontent among the masses against this colonial system of exploitation. There was huge discontent among the masses against this colonial system of exploitation. Right, next point. Frequent revolts and rebellions. Frequent revolts and rebellions were taking place in different corners of the country. Frequent revolts and rebellions were taking place. Frequent revolts and rebellions were taking place in different corners of the country. Frequent revolts and rebellions were taking place in different corners of the country. Okay. Bracket in bracket, right? Including the remote interiors. Including the remote interiors. Okay. Including the remote interiors. Right. Next point. Using railways. Using railways. Using railways. The company army could easily suppress these revolts and rebellions very swiftly using railways. Okay. Using railways, the company's army could easily suppress these revolts and rebellions very swiftly and could easily suppress these revolts and rebellions very swiftly and in a very effective manner. They could easily suppress these revolts and rebellions very swiftly and in a very effective manner. ठीक है, revolts और rebellions को क्या कर सकते हैं? They can suppress very swiftly and in a very effective manner. Got it? Okay. So is it serving the colonial purpose? Yes or no? Yes. And third point is what? 1833 charter से क्या हुआ? Europeans were allowed to come and settle in India. So when they will settle in India, they need what? Infrastructure. आप घर खरीदते हो तो क्या देखते हो? स्कूल है कि नहीं, हॉस्पिटल है कि नहीं, रोड्स वगैरह ठीक है कि नहीं, प्रॉपर सेफ्टी है कि नहीं, कम्युनिकेशन नेटवर्क, मेट्रो वगैरह आसपास है कि नहीं, देखते हो ना? दीज आर सम फैक्टर्स दैट वी स्टिल. सो यूरोपियंस आर कमिंग फ्रॉम ब्रिटेन, they are settling in India, so obviously they need what? Infrastructure, right? Social infrastructure में schools, okay, hospitals, missionary schools are there, missionary hospitals are there. ठीक है, टुडे ऑल्सो दे आर सर्विंग द कंट्री, आज भी कर रहा है और अच्छा काम कर रहा है. मिशनरी स्कूल्स एंड मिशनरी हॉस्पिटल्स, रेलवेज एंड ऑल दिस. बट व्हाट अबाउट दीज रेलवेज? क्लियर? रेलवेज में क्या था? ओके, या फिर रेलवेज में क्या था? इट्स नॉट ओनली वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द पैसेंजर ट्रेन, वी आर ऑल्सो टॉकिंग अबाउट द फ्रेट ट्रेन्स. तो रेलवे की जो मालगाड़ी होती है जिसपे वी कैरी द गुड्स, ट्रांसपोर्ट द गुड्स, तो देखो ब्रिटिश मर्चेंट्स वेर पेइंग less fee in comparison to the Indian merchants when they were using these, okay, carrier trains or the freight trains. ये है colonialism. मेरी बात समझ गया ना कि ब्रिटिश मर्चेंट अगर यूज कर रहा है मालगाड़ी को तो कम फी पे कर रहा है, और अगर इंडियन मर्चेंट यूज कर रहे हैं तो उनको क्या करना पड़ रहा है? ज्यादा फी पे करना पड़ रहा है. प्रियोरिटी किसको मिल रही है? ब्रिटिश मर्चेंट्स को. ठीक है, यही तो है colonialism. ठीक है. Now this is another thing, that British developed this infrastructure and we are benefited by this infrastructure. But what was their pure intention? Was it their intention to provide gains to the Indians? No. They were developing this infrastructure to ensure fuller exploitation of India. पहले से इंडिया का एक्सप्लोइटेशन कर रहे थे. Now they want to ensure what? Fuller exploitation of India. Okay, and that's why they were developing this infrastructure. Okay, so write this. The main purpose was to ensure fuller exploitation of India. And highlight this point, the main purpose was to ensure fuller exploitation of India. Fuller exploitation of India. This was the main purpose, to ensure the fuller exploitation of India. Okay. And there is one more point, that the same railways also helped in the growth of nationalism. Okay. How? Because suppose we are traveling in a train, okay, and suppose we are peasants. One peasant is from Andhra Pradesh, one peasant is from Tamil Nadu, from Kerala, from Punjab. We all are sitting together. तो ट्रेन में बैठ के बात करने की हमारी तो आदत है ही है. ओके, so we will discuss our concerns or the grief. Now the peasant of Andhra will say that I am exploited in the same manner as you are exploited. Who is exploiting you? Company is exploiting you. Company is exploiting us. They're exploiting us in this manner. So when the people will share their concerns and the griefs, and when they will realize that their concerns are common and the enemy is also common, what will happen? Will it unite them? Yes, it will unite them. There are so many things also. For example, the custom of practice of untouchability was there. But when you will sit in trains, okay, so what will happen? This rigid caste, rigid system will also break to some extent. ठीक है. अब 31 लोअर बर्थ, ठीक है, अगर किसी पंडित जी का है, ठीक है, 32 33 किसी का भी हो सकता है. मेरी बात समझ गया ना. एंड हियर यू कैन नॉट इम्पोज योर रिजिड कास्ट रूल्स. आप इसको रूल को कर नहीं सकते. तो देखो, ब्रिटिश ने कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ी बहुत हेल्प भी हुई हमारी, बट वो इंटेंशनली नहीं था. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अम्बेडकर फादर वॉज सर्विंग ब्रिटिश इंडियन आर्मी, और जो ब्रिटिश इंडियन आर्मी में सर्व कर रहा है, देखो, दे डोंट बिलीव इन द कस्टम ऑफ अनटचेबिलिटी ना, प्रैक्टिस ऑफ अनटचेबिलिटी. तो उनके बच्चों को मिशनरी स्कूल्स में पढ़ने के चांसेस मिल जाते थे. ओके, so Ambedkar got the privilege to get education because his father was serving British Indian Army. अगर वो वहां नहीं होते, ठीक है, तो अम्बेडकर कहाँ होते? समझे इस बात को? ओके, so this is also very important to understand that whatever they are doing in India, their ultimate purpose is to ensure gains of British economy. But yes, we Indians were also benefited by this system. ठीक है, इससे हमें भी कुछ benefit हुआ. Got it? So in this phase, what will be promoted? Commercialization of agriculture will also be promoted. आप समझ गए 2 phases को? Is it clear? Now the third phase, that is also very interesting. Third phase क्या है? 1857-58, 1857-58 to 1947. This is the third phase. And here what we see, that there was direct British rule in India, and that is what? Crown rule. We see crown rule in the third phase. There was direct British rule and the crown rule. अब इसके पहले क्या क्या हो चुका है, जरा इन चीजों पे नजर डालो आप. ठीक है, लैंड रेवेन्यू सिस्टम ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, ठीक है, जुडिशियल सिस्टम ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, military administration. Okay, Europeans can come, can settle to India. Development of physical infrastructure like railways, development of social infrastructure like schools and colleges. Plantation industries have already developed. Okay, Christian missionaries here are India. They are promoting education, they are promoting health. तो ये सारे डेवलपमेंट इसके पहले हो चुके. Now what will happen? Now, okay, if all the conditions are favorable, now British are thinking to be or to settle permanently in India. अब उनके दिमाग में ये नहीं है कि हिंदुस्तान छोड़ के कभी जाना पड़ेगा. They don't think so. Now they think that we are going to maintain permanent British rule in India. That is perpetuity of British rule, permanent British rule in India. So in this situation, what will happen? Okay, they are getting enormous benefits from India. India is a classic colony for the Britain, and in Europe, which idea is becoming popular? That is communism. तो क्या ज्यादा बेटर हो सकता है कि कहाँ आके सेटल हो जाओ? इंडिया में. So do you think that the huge capital will be invested in India? Yes, read this. Huge capital will be invested in India. Huge capital will be invested in India. Okay. नाउ प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनीज विल कम इनटू एग्जिस्टेंस और नॉट. ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी की तो मोनोपोलिस्टिक राइट खत्म हो चुकी है, कहानी 1833 में ही. नाउ व्हाट विल हैपन, मेनी प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनीज, many private limited companies will also appear in India. बहुत सारी प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनीज भी इंडिया में अपीयर होंगी. ओके. इन इंडिया देर इज अ in India there was a British capitalist class that was present in India. इंडिया में कौन था, ब्रिटिश कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास भी था. एंड इन इंडिया देर वॉज एन इमर्जिंग इंडियन कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास. वाई आई एम सेइंग इमर्जिंग इंडियन कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास, जैसे मान लो मैं इंटरप्रेनर हूँ, कोई बिजनेस मैं स्टेबल कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है, कोई आदमी मेरे साथ जुड़ गया, ठीक है, अगर मेरे पास बिजनेस का एक्सपीरियंस है, मेरे पास कनेक्शंस है, तो जो आदमी मेरे साथ जुड़ेगा क्या वो उन स्किल्स को नहीं सीखेगा, सीखेगा ना. ओके. तो ब्रिटिश कैपिटलिस्ट को हेल्प और सपोर्ट करने के लिए जो ग्रुप ठीक उनके पीछे खड़ा था वो क्या था, इमर्जिंग इंडियन कैपिटलिस्ट. ओके. सो राइट दिस, देयर वाज एन इमर्जिंग इंडियन कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास ऑल्सो, देयर वाज एन इमर्जिंग इंडियन कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास ऑल्सो. एक इमर्जिंग इंडियन कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास भी था. देयर वाज अ ब्रिटिश कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास, देयर वाज एन इमर्जिंग Indian capitalist class. Clear? Now write this. Development of banking and financial institutions will also take place here. Development of banking and financial institutions will also take place here. Development of banking and financial institutions will also take place here. Many new companies will come into existence. Now I'm taking some names and you can easily relate. Okay. Have you heard the name of this elevator, Otis elevator? 1853. देखते जाओ. इलाहाबाद बैंक 1865. ईयर्स क्या है ये याद नहीं रखना है. दिस विल नॉट बी आस्क्ड इन एग्जाम, बट जस्ट आई एम डिस्कसिंग विथ यू सो दैट यू कुड रिलेट. ओटिस एलिवेटर 1853, इलाहाबाद बैंक 1865. ये सारे किस फेज के बने हुए हैं, इसी फेज के बने हुए हैं. नेस्ले 1866. नेस्ले का नाम सुना ही होगा आपने. नेस्ले 1866. ब्रिटानिया 1892. नेस्ले 1866. ब्रिटानिया 1892. ओके. पंजाब नेशनल बैंक 1895. पीएनबी पंजाब नेशनल बैंक 1895. कैनरा बैंक 1906. कैनरा बैंक 1906. कैनरा बैंक 1906. ये रट्टा मत मारना, ठीक है ना. गोदरेज का नाम सुना, गोदरेज कंपनी 1897. गोदरेज लिमिटेड, गोदरेज लिमिटेड 1897. ओके. बैंक ऑफ इंडिया 1906. रेमंड्स 1925. बैंक ऑफ इंडिया 1906. ओके. रेमंड्स 1925. रेमंड हो गया 1925. ओके. गॉट इट. सिप्ला 1935. सिप्ला दवा की कंपनी है, आप लोग जानते होंगे. सिप्ला 1935. These are examples to understand this entire concept. Don't remember these facts. This is example, and what we are learning here, that in third phase what is happening? New companies, private limited companies, banking and financial institutions. And we all know that private limited companies जो हैं उसमें क्या होता है, पैसा इन्वेस्ट होता है, money is invested here. Okay. So all these things developed in third phase, and that's why the third phase is called period of finance capitalism, attracting huge investments, new companies, banking, financial infrastructure coming into existence. So that's why we are calling it what? Finance capitalism or industrial. हाँ 1907. yes 1907. टेस्को, टेस्को. ठीक है. इंडियन कैपिटलिस्ट क्लास. अभी डेवलपमेंट ऑफ मॉडर्न इंडस्ट्रीज का भी कॉन्सेप्ट समझाऊंगा, बिकॉज देखो जनरली व्हाट हैपेंस इज दैट. ओके. देखो आजकल ईच एंड एवरीथिंग इज ओपन. सपोज ओके यू आर द पर्सन हु इज ऑथोराइज टू मेक क्वेश्चंस. आप कुछ क्वेश्चंस यूपीएससी के बना रहे हो, जरा उस साइकी को समझो क्या मैं कहना चाह रहा हूँ. सपोज यू आर मेकिंग क्वेश्चंस ऑफ यूपीएससी, आप क्वेश्चन सेट कर रहे हो, एंड व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, ईच एंड एवरी कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूशन इज क्लेमिंग कि मेरे ही पढ़ाए से आ गया, मेरे ही नोट से आ गया, तो ये बात तो वो भी सुनते हैं, ठीक है। अब ढूंढ के कुछ तो दिखाई दोगे ना यार, क्वेश्चन का कोई एक वर्ड ढूंढ लो और कहो हाँ मेरे पढ़ाए से आ गया, तो ज़्यादातर क्लेम यही होता है। ओके, सो दे नो दिस। जितने मॉडल टेस्ट पेपर हो रहे हैं, टेस्ट सीरीज हो रहे हैं, वो लोग थोड़ी ना मार्स प्लैनेट पे रहते हैं, वो भी दिल्ली में ही रहते हैं, हैदराबाद रहते हैं, साउथ इंडिया के किसी यूनिवर्सिटी में रहते हैं, जेएनयू में रहते हैं। तो दे लुक एट व्हाट इज गोइंग ऑन, सब देखते हैं। तो सवाल वो वहां से पूछते हैं जहां से आप पढ़ना बंद कर देते हो, ठीक है। वन क्लास इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी, इकोनॉमिक एक्सप्लॉयटेशन आपने सारा पढ़ लिया, लैंड रेवेन्यू सेटलमेंट पढ़ लिया, एंड नाउ दे विल आस्क क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम दिस पार्ट, ठीक है। दैट यू आर एबल टू क्रिएट समथिंग और नॉट, कुछ सोच पा रहे हो कि नहीं, आंसर को करेलेट कर पा रहे हो कि नहीं, तो मेन चैलेंज ये है। ओके, एंड टू एड्रेस दिस चैलेंज व्हाट इज द मोस्ट इफेक्टिव थिंग, सुनने में बहुत अच्छा नहीं लगेगा, वो तरीका वही है कि एक एक मॉड्यूल पे इतनी अच्छी पकड़ बनाओ, इतना अच्छा कमांड बनाओ बेसिक मॉड्यूल्स पे, तो आपकी तैयारी का पिलर तैयार हो जाएगा, ठीक है। और इस पिलर पे बाकी चीज़ें क्या है, करेंट अफेयर और ये सारी चीज़ें, ये रेगुलर पढ़ोगे। इस साल करंट अफेयर पढ़ोगे, अगले साल फिर नया पढ़ना पड़ेगा। अब पता चला आपने पूरा कमांड केवल करंट अफेयर पे पढ़ाया बनाया है, अगले साल फिर आप प्लेन हो, केवल करंट अफेयर आता है आपको, जो फिर अगले साल दूसरा करंट हो गया है, ठीक है ना। तो स्टैटिक और डायनेमिक का एक बेहतर कॉम्बिनेशन, इसके लिए समझना ज़रूरी है। इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू डिस्कस द क्वेश्चन, और यही नहीं, आपको क्वेश्चन भी मैं डिस्कस करूंगा, ठीक है, एक एक क्वेश्चन के आंसर फॉर्मेट्स डिस्कस करूंगा, तो दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ द, ठीक है, ठीक है। ये बात आपको समझ में आई पूरी की पूरी, व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर इन इंडिया। नाउ आई विल रिलेट वन मोर थिंग एंड दैट इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग। ओके, so write this. Okay, now this is the economic exploitation of India. यही क्या है, economic exploitation of India. This is called economic exploitation of India. How economic exploitation is done, so write one point here. Okay, nature of economic exploitation of India, you understand, लिख लो कौन कौन से dimensions हैं which you need to understand. Nature of economic exploitation of India. Right, second point, forms of economic exploitation. Forms of economic exploitation, ये आपने समझ लिया, forms of economic exploitation. Land revenue model and economic exploitation. Land revenue model and economic exploitation. Land revenue model, system of administration, and economic exploitation. This also you understand, ठीक है। Right, next point, development of physical infrastructure and economic exploitation. Development of physical infrastructure and economic exploitation. Development of physical infrastructure and economic exploitation, ठीक है। Great. Three phases of colonial rule, ये भी आपने समझ लिया, and important development in this phase. Three phases of colonial rule and important developments that took place. Okay, three phases of colonial rule and okay, important development that took place in this phase, ठीक है। Right, next point, how economy of India was subordinated or subjugated under British economy, question mark. This also you have understood. How economy of India, okay, how economy of India was subjugated or subordinated. How economy of India was subordinated or subjugated under British economy. This also you have understood. Got it? Now, many a times UPSC also asks statement based question. In GS also, this optional also, GS also, they used to ask statement based question. So by reading statements you will have to, okay, make an idea about the entire, okay, theme, किस थीम से रिलेटेड स्टेटमेंट है, एंड यू विल राइट the different aspects of that theme in your answer. For example, I am writing some statements here. These statements are very important, that's why I am discussing with you. So write statement number 1. So UPSC generally will not give the name of the person who give this statement. They will give statement and they will write comment or discuss. For example, there was a statement, right? Write the statement that our system acts very much like a sponge. Our system acts very much like a sponge. Our system acts very much like a sponge. स्पंज समझते हो ना आप लोग? ठीक है, जैसे बगल वाले पड़ोसी अंकल के स्कूटर की सीट फाड़ के स्पंज उसमें से निकाला करते थे बचपन में हम लोग, ठीक है ना? तो आवर सिस्टम वेरी मच एक्ट्स लाइक अ स्पंज, राइट? ड्रॉइंग अप ड्रॉइंग अप ड्रॉइंग अप, ठीक है, all the good things from the banks of Ganga, drawing up all the good things, drawing up all the good things from the banks of Ganges, from the banks of Ganga or Ganges, okay, from the banks of Ganges, and squeezing them down on the land of Thames, and squeezing them down and squeezing them down, squeezing them down on the land of Thames, on the land of Thames, Thames, ठीक है? Comment, comment. When you find such kind of difficult questions, highlight the keywords. One keyword is system, one keyword is sponge. Sponge we know. Squeeze means usko nichodna. So our system, it is talking about what? Colonial system of administration. It is talking about colonial rule or British rule in India. So this system acts very much like a sponge. इंडिया से जो भी अच्छी चीजें हैं उनको क्या करना, ठीक है, और कहाँ ले जाके निचोड़ देना. इसका मतलब क्या है? ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ. हाउ इंडिया इज इकोनॉमिकली एक्सप्लॉइटेड, वी हैव टू डिस्कस दिस एस्पेक्ट. So what is the main theme here? This is the statement. And what is the main theme of this statement? So read this. How Indian economy was exploited by British or exploited under British rule. इसी का तो आंसर लिखना है. तो स्टेटमेंट को सबसे पहले क्या करना है? डिकोड करना है. यू हैव टू डिकोड which theme we are talking about, and then you will write the answer. Now it's very easy for you to write the answer of this question. लिख सकते हो ना? Okay. This statement was the statement of John Sullivan. But if in exam it will be asked, so this name will not be given. So this statement is a very famous statement, and it's the statement of John Sullivan. Okay. Suppose you want to quote this statement in exam. So what you will do? This is the very popular statement. Don't write the entire statement. Write only like this, John Sullivan, and then you will write like this. Our system acts ... land of Thames. John Sullivan. इतना लिख के छोड़ देना. This will save words. If you want to quote, you can quote. So this is the way how we can quote in exam. The popular statements can be quoted in this way. ठीक है ना? This is the art. पूरा याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं है. Our system. कई बार लोगों को लगता है जो स्टेटमेंट जैसे लिखा गया वैसे ही याद रखो. नहीं, you can use your own language. थोड़े वर्ड्स भी बदल सकते हैं. Okay? Yes, please Akash, ask your question. They may ask. Obviously. There are so many questions which were asked in optional, they were asked in GS. क्योंकि ये टॉपिक क्या है ये आप देखो. This topic is a general topic. We must know that how British economically exploited Indians. अगर मैं एंग्लो मराठा वॉर के बहुत अंदर जाके कोई क्वेश्चन बनाऊंगा या उसकी ट्रीटी से कोई क्वेश्चन बनाऊंगा, वो केवल ऑप्शनल में पूछा जाएगा. बट दिस कैन बी द थीम ऑफ जीएस ऑल्सो. ठीक है, कुछ थीम्स जीएस के भी हो सकता है. गॉट इट? ओके. नाउ राइट अनदर स्टेटमेंट. Another statement is what? Question number 2, right? It was the British intruders. It was the British intruders. और ये हमें जानना भी चाहिए ना. देखो कितने इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेटमेंट्स हैं. It was the British intruders who broke up the Indian handloom. Who broke up the Indian handloom. जिससे पूछूंगा वही आंसर देगा. ठीक है ना? Who broke up the Indian handloom. It was the British intruders who broke up the Indian handloom and destroyed the spinning wheel. And destroyed the spinning wheel. It was the British intruders, okay, who broke up the Indian handloom and destroyed the spinning wheel. वैसे स्टेटमेंट कार्ल मार्क्स का है, बट एग्जाम में आपसे पूछा जाएगा डिस्कस और कमेंट. ओनली दिस मच विल बी गिवन, डिस्कस और कमेंट. समझ में आ रहा है? नाउ Satakshi will give the answer of this question. What we have to write? Just decode this question. Okay. What is the main aspect of this question? क्या है? Exactly. Here we have to establish linkages. I have discussed Marxist perspective. Statement किसका है? Karl Marx का. But it is discussing the same Marxist perspective. That British Industrial Revolution was first textile revolution. And in order to support that textile revolution, how 1750s Bengal, this is what textile revolution, industrial revolution, how British destroyed the cotton textile industry. ठीक है ना? Using unfair tariff means, putting import restrictions in Great Britain. Okay, ये सारी चीजें बतानी कि कॉटन टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री को कैसे डिस्ट्रॉय किया. ठीक है? Got it? Okay. One more statement, and these statements are very serious statements. We must know this. हमें जानना भी चाहिए. Okay, one more statement. Okay, so here what is the main theme? If you decode, the main theme is, right, the main theme is how. अब इस क्वेश्चन को जब मेंस में क्वेश्चन है तो उसको क्या करना है? डिकोड कर लेना है. ठीक है, वहीं पे क्वेश्चन पेपर पे लिख लो और उसके बाद आंसर लिखना शुरू करो. मेन थीम क्या है? हाउ द ब्रिटिश इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसीज destroyed, okay, a rich cotton textile industry of India. How the British economic policies destroyed the rich cotton textile industry of India, and how they utilized it, and how they utilized it, and how they utilized it, how they utilized it in order to support, and how they utilized it in order to support, how they utilized it in order to support, okay, industrial revolution in Britain. How they utilized it in order to support the industrial revolution in Britain. How they utilized it in order to support industrial revolution in Britain. Got it? This is the idea. Can you read this? बहुत आसान है. Okay, now we are coming to the other thing. Okay, now this is what? Economic exploitation. Okay, economic policies of British rule in India, and they are economically exploiting. Now what will happen if economic exploitation of Indians is being done? Okay, so a class will emerge to oppose this system of economic exploitation. Okay, but that class will be what? Class of peasant will oppose or criticize, or intellectual class will oppose or criticize? Intellectual class. ये बात, ये this is the very important point. तो देखो क्या होगा. Okay, we see what that, draw the structure 1757. Then we see, we have already discussed 1813. What happened in 1858? Okay, and this is 1947. 1940. तो देखो, after this revolt of 1857, draw the structure, this timeline. This is very much important. Or exam mein, if you get an opportunity to draw some sketch, you must do this. Okay, this will enhance your number. So this is the revolt of 1857. In this phase, what was happening? Development of RPAs, that is called regional political associations, were taking place. And here we see another important event, that is formation of Indian National Congress. Okay, here what was happening? This development of RPAs, regional political associations, were taking place in Bengal, in Bombay, in Madras. Bengal, Bombay and Madras. Development of RPAs, regional political associations. अच्छा देखो, रीजनल लेवल पे पॉलिटिकल एसोसिएशन का बढ़ना क्या दिखलाता है? ग्रोइंग पॉलिटिकल अवेयरनेस अमॉन्ग द masses. Now the people are becoming more aware about their political rights. Okay, it means that a kind of sense of nationalism is being promoted in the minds of the people. So this RPS, what we see, is an indicator. This RPA is an indicator. Indicator of what? Indicator of growing political awareness of the masses. It is an indicator of growing political awareness of the masses. This is one thing. It is an indicator of the growing political awareness of the masses. And the second, it is also an indicator of the growth of nationalist sentiments among the people. Growth of nationalist sentiments among the people. लोगों के अंदर nationalist sentiments का growth हो रहा है, ये इसको भी दिखाता है. So this is the indicator of two things. Growth of nationalist sentiments among the people. Now what will happen? Now who will lead these RPS? कौन पॉलिटिकल एसोसिएशन बनाएगा? जो ज़्यादा एनलाइटेंड होगा, जो ज़्यादा अवेकेंड होगा, जो एजुकेटेड इंडियन क्लास होगा. So this is what, read this, educated Indian people, educated Indians, that is Indian intellectuals, and many of these intellectuals were, okay, you can say highly educated. They were the lawyers, English educated Indian intellectuals. Many of them were English educated Indian intellectuals. Many of them were such English educated Indian intellectuals. Even many of them have got education in Britain also. कुछ लोगों ने क्या किया है? ब्रिटेन में एजुकेशन भी पाई है. Some of them were practicing law in Britain also. Some of them were practicing law in Britain also. It means this is an elite Indian class, English speaking Indian class of Indian intellectuals. Obviously, they are more aware than the other masses. So this is the first generation of nationalists in India, and they are called early nationalists. ठीक है ना? First generation of nationalists. Read this. This is the first generation of nationalist leaders in India. First generation of nationalist leaders in India, and in short, we use a word for this, and this is what? Early nationalist. This is what? The first generation of nationalists in India, and in short, we use a word for them, and that is early nationalists. उन्हीं को हम क्या कहते हैं? अर्ली नेशनलिस्ट. तो टाइम पीरियड क्या होगा? 1830s, 40s, 50s, ऐसा कोई फिक्स डेडलाइन नहीं है, बट दिस इज द फेज. थर्ड फेज आते आते वी सी द फर्स्ट जनरेशन ऑफ नेशनलिस्ट लीडर्स, दैट इज कॉल्ड अर्ली नेशनलिस्ट. वो लोग पढ़े लिखे थे. दे डिड व्हाट? सम ऑफ देम, ओके, some of them, okay, were successful in understanding the main intention behind the economic policies of British in India. They realized that the British economic policies in India are aimed to ensure the exploitation of Indian people. So what they will do? They will expose colonial system of administration. Okay, they will write articles, they will write books. The articles and books will contain what? Facts, information, infographics, analysis of how British are economically exploiting Indian people. Clear? So they will expose the colonial rule in India. And that's why the class which will, okay, do what? Economic critique of British rule in India. That class of nationalists will be called early economic nationalists. जो क्या करेंगे? इंडिया में ब्रिटिश इकोनॉमिक रूल को एक्सपोज करेंगे. They will do what? Economic critique. They will write what? Articles. They will write what? Books. They will present facts, data, analysis, interpretation, and they will expose British that they are not liberators. They are colonizers. They are not here to ensure the welfare of Indian people, but they are here to ensure the welfare of British economy. So that class of early nationalist is called early economic critics. उन्हीं को कहते हैं. Okay, so you can write this, that Some of these early nationalist leaders provided some of these early nationalist leaders provided some of these early nationalist leaders provided an economic critique of British rule in India. Provided an economic critique of British rule in India. Some of these early nationalist leaders provided an economic critique of British rule in India. Okay. They exposed the colonial system of administration, right? They exposed the colonial system of administration. Okay. They wrote articles, books, and presented their opinion. They wrote articles, books, and presented their opinion with facts, right? Arguments, and presented their opinion with facts and arguments. Clear? Facts and arguments. Now, I will discuss some important names, of such early economic nationalists. Okay, कुछ important name, right? So one important name here I have already discussed with you, M.G. Ranade. कुछ याद आया? M.G. Ranade. He was the political guru of Gokhale. So देखो, another name is Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He was also economic critic. Gopal Krishna Gokhale. ठीक है? Gokhale. Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He was also an economic critic. Gokhale's political guru was Ranade. गोखले के पॉलिटिकल गुरु कौन थे? रानाडे. और रानाडे कौन थे? रानाडे वॉज अर्ली नेशनलिस्ट लीडर, फर्स्ट जनरेशन ऑफ नेशनलिस्ट लीडर. और गांधी ने गुरु किसको बनाया? गोखले को. देखो कैसे कनेक्शन काम आता है. ठीक है, जो स्मार्ट बच्चे होते हैं यूनिवर्सिटी कॉलेजेस में, ठीक है, सीधे साधे लोग पढ़ने में रह जाते हैं. स्मार्ट वाले क्या करते हैं? ठीक है, अपना एक शानदार नेटवर्क बनाते हैं, और आप देखोगे कि दे आर मोर सक्सेसफुल. ठीक है, 2-4-10% इधर उधर गिर जाए उससे फर्क उनको नहीं पड़ता. ठीक है, ओके. तो गांधी ने क्या किया? गांधी वॉज वेरी स्मार्ट. ये एवरेज स्टूडेंट थे. गांधी ने गुरु किसको बनाया? गोखले को. गोखले के गुरु कौन थे? M.G. रानाडे. ऐसे थोड़ी ना हुआ कि गांधी रिटर्न फ्रॉम साउथ अफ्रीका इन 1915 एंड इन 1920 ही वाज वन ऑफ द टॉप लीडर्स ऑफ इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस. ठीक है, उनके गुरुजी तो थे गोपाल कृष्ण गोखले. माहौल बना रखा था कांग्रेस के अंदर. ठीक है, कि गांधी अपना बच्चा है, कमाल कर रहा है साउथ अफ्रीका में. लोगों ने गांधी से मुलाकात नहीं की थी, बट दे वर वेरी ईगर टू मीट गांधी, कि कौन है गांधी. ठीक है ना. तो ये सारी चीज़ें बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले करती हैं. सो गांधी इज पॉलिटिकल. तो देखो, दीज टू आर द इकोनॉमिक क्रिटिक्स, M.G. रानडे, गोपाल कृष्ण गोखले. अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट नेम वॉज दादा भाई नौरोजी. Read this, Dada Bhai Naoroji. Dada Bhai Naoroji. This is another very important name. Okay. Next important name is R.C. Dutt. R.C. Dutt. R.C. Dutt. G.V. Joshi. G.V. Joshi. G.V. means Ganesh Vasudev Joshi. G.V. Joshi. Next is D.E. Vacha, Dinsha Vacha. D.E. Vacha. Next is, okay, G. Subramaniam Iyer. G. Subramaniam Iyer. G. Subramaniam Iyer. G. Subramaniam Iyer. P.C. Ray. P.C. Ray. P.C. Ray. Okay. G. Subramaniam Iyer, P.C. Ray, etc. P.C. Ray, etc. Got it? These are the early economic critique. This is a UPSC PYQ. Question may be asked that identify which of them were the economic critique in India. So if you are familiar with a few names also, you can reach at the right answer. आपको एक idea होगा, right? Now, these all were the मॉडरेट लीडर्स. ये भी याद रखना कि जो आर्टिकल लिख रहा है ऐसे लिख रहा है, अपनी बात को रख रहा है, तो वो एक्सट्रीमिस्ट तो नहीं है, मॉडरेट है। एक्सट्रीमिस्ट लीडर्स वर ऑल्सो राइटिंग पम्पलेट्स एंड एसेज, लिखते वो भी थे, बट उनका तेवर अलग था। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दादा भाई नौरोजी विल राइट essay, विल राइट आर्टिकल, ठीक है, poverty and un-British rule in India. But when Tilak will come, Tilak will deliver a speech. लिखते तिलक भी हैं, बट तिलक विल डिलीवर स्पीच। और एक्सट्रीमिस्ट लीडर्स आम लोगों से कनेक्ट ज़्यादा करते हैं। ओके, दे स्पीक इन द लैंग्वेज ऑफ द कॉमन मासेस, द कॉमन मासेस कैन इजीली कनेक्ट विद द एक्सट्रीमिस्ट लीडर्स। तो बताओ, इफ़ यू आर राइटिंग बुक तो वो अलग तरीके से लिखोगे, बट इफ़ यू आर एड्रेसिंग 1000 पीपल, 2000 पीपल, तो आपको बात कुछ ऐसे लहजे में कहनी होगी कि जो सबको समझ में आ जाए, ठीक है। नाउ तिलक विल से दैट ब्रिटिश rule is there in India, British are coming to India, they are living in India, okay, they don't have any intention to leave India, हिंदुस्तान से जाने की इनकी इच्छा ही नहीं हो रही है, and they are saying that we are here in India to ensure the welfare of Indian people, we are doing developments in India, we are developing physical infrastructure in India, ठीक है। तिलक ने कहा भाई अपने देश में क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो, हमारे देश में क्यों कर रहे हो भाई, ठीक है, बाई स्पेंडिंग योर ओन रिसोर्सेज, अपना पैसा खर्च करके, मतलब अपने पैसे से दूसरे की बीवी के ब्यूटी पार्लर का खर्चा क्यों उठा रहे हो, ये होगा तिलक का टोन। मेरी बात समझ गया? दिस इज हाउ यू आर स्पेंडिंग योर मनी इन डेकोरेटिंग समवन एल्स वाइफ, वाई? ओके, उसके बाद अंग्रेज सर पकड़ के बैठ जाएंगे, उनके पास कोई जवाब नहीं होगा, सारे लॉजिक फेल। ओके, so this is what, this is how extremist leaders were criticizing economic exploitation, ठीक है, ऑफ ब्रिटिश रूल। गॉट इट? दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट हियर नाउ। तो तिलक की तो बात हम बाद में करेंगे, व्हेन आई विल स्टार्ट इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस, व्हेन आई विल डिस्कस एक्सट्रीमिस्ट लीडर्स, तो स्टोरी बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है। नाउ हियर वन इकोनॉमिक क्रिटिक इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड दैट इज आस्क्ड इन एग्जाम आल्सो, राइट? दादा भाई नौरोजी, दादा भाई नौरोजी's critic, दादा भाई नौरोजी's critic is also known as grand old man of India, okay, is also known as first economic thinker, ये भी इनको कहते हैं, read this, is also known as grand old man of India, grand old man of India, okay, first economic thinker of India, he is credited with this, grand old man of India, first economic thinker of India, and read this, he wrote a book, and the name of the book was Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. He wrote a book, and the name of this book is Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Okay. So in this book, what he will write? He will write that in India, the nature of British rule is different from the British rule in Britain. So basically, in India, the nature of British rule is un-British. Okay, it means here the British are exploiting Indian people. They are exploiting our economic resources, and this is the reason for poverty of India. भारत में गरीबी का जो सबसे बड़ा रीजन है वो यही है, that in India British claim that we are treating Indian subjects like British subjects, but this is not true, right? ये true नहीं। British rule in India is different from British rule in Britain. They are not alike. वो एक जैसे नहीं है। In India, the British economic policies are exploiting Indian people. वो Indian people को exploit कर रहा है। Okay? Colonial rule is maintained for more than 1 century. And in India, the poverty is growing. Our exports came down. Our handicrafts declined. Agriculture production and productivity declined. Deindustrialization is being promoted. High rate of land revenue is collected from the peasants, and that revenue is not spent on the welfare of Indian peasant. Okay, government is not sensible when it comes to provide humanitarian assistance and relief in case of any disaster. Okay, so this is the reason for India's challenges. This is the reason for India's poverty. And in the same book, he gave a theory, and this theory is also very popular in history, that is called train of wealth. Read this, train of wealth theory. This theory was given by Dadabhai Naoroji. Train of wealth. Okay, train of wealth. Now we need to discuss about this train of wealth. Okay, तो ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ को थोड़ा सा एलाबरेट करो आप, ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ, ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ। तो आपको पता हो गया, दिस थियरी वाज गिवन बाय दादा भाई नौरोजी। इन विच बुक? द बुक इज पॉवर्टी एंड अन ब्रिटिश रूल इन इंडिया। Okay, in this book this theory was given, and this theory is the part of economic critique. Okay, ये economic critique का हिस्सा है। And what is drain of wealth? वही sponge वाला example, unilateral transfer of wealth from India to Britain, and in return India was getting nothing. Okay, that is drain of wealth. Right, this the process of unilateral transfer of wealth, the process of unilateral transfer of wealth, the process of unilateral transfer of wealth from India to Britain, and the process of unilateral means okay, one sided, ठीक है ना? The process of unilateral transfer of wealth from India to Britain, from India to Britain, this transfer is what? Unilateral. The process of unilateral transfer of wealth from India to Britain, and in return of which India was getting nothing. ओके, यूनिलेटरल ट्रांसफर ऑफ वेल्थ, यानी हमारा पैसा यहाँ जा रहा है, बदले में हमें कुछ नहीं मिल रहा है। इंडिया वाज गेटिंग नथिंग इन रिटर्न, दिस इज नोन एज ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ। ठीक है भाई, हम किसी को भी पैसा देते हैं तो बदले में कुछ तो लेते हैं ना, ठीक है? कभी ऐसा हुआ है कि किसी शॉपिंग मॉल में आपने कहा यार पेमेंट ले लो, मैं कुछ नहीं खरीदूंगा? ऐसा नहीं हुआ ना, ठीक है? यहाँ हो रहा है ऐसा, वी आर पेइंग ब्रिटिश, ओके, in return we are getting nothing. This is called drain of wealth from India to Britain. Okay, now forms of drain of wealth, right? This forms of drain of wealth, this is also an important question for prelims. ये prelims का question है, ध्यान रखना। Can also be asked in mains, but now you can easily write, इतनी ज़्यादा आपको जानकारी हो गई ना कि किसी भी क्वेश्चन का आंसर लिख सकते हो। फॉर्म्स ऑफ ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ, क्लियर? व्हाट आर द फॉर्म्स ऑफ ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ? देखो, पॉइंट 1, नाउ इट्स वेरी इजी। If I write here colonial gains, colonial gains, colonial gains, it will be one form. याद करो कुछ, when company defeated local rulers, they got colonial gains. Colonial gains में क्या होता था? One is territorial gains, the other is monetary gains, and the third is individual gift and bribe. कितना आसान है। ओके, तो ये क्या है फॉर्म? वो पैसा कहाँ जा रहा है? जैसे मान लो कि आपको कुछ विलेजेस की जमींदारी राइट्स मिल गई, यू आर गेटिंग रेवेन्यूज, तो पैसा लेके तो इंग्लैंड ही जाओगे ना, दैट इज टेरिटोरियल गेन। मॉनेटरी गेन 5 लाख 10 लाख 50 लाख रुपीज, इंडिविजुअल गिफ्ट एंड ब्राइब्स, तो राइट दिस territorial gains. I have already discussed this, that whenever British East India Company fought wars with the local powers, they used to get territorial gains, और ये तरीका सीखा था किससे? ड्यूप्ले से। ठीक है, टेरिटोरियल गेन्स। द सेकेंड इज मॉनेटरी गेन्स, द सेकेंड इज मॉनेटरी गेन्स, एंड द थर्ड इज इंडिविजुअल गिफ्ट्स एंड ब्राइब्स। यू ऑल नो दिस, देयर इज नो नीड टू डिस्कस, आई हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड इट इन डिटेल। टेरिटोरियल गेन्स, इंडिविजुअल गिफ्ट एंड ब्राइब्स, ठीक है, ये चीज है। द सेकेंड पॉइंट इज व्हाट? ओके, देखो, रेड दिस, प्रॉफिट, profits generated from trade and commerce, profits generated from trade and commerce, ठीक है, profits generated from trade and commerce. Why we are saying profits generated from trade and commerce? There is a reason. We will call it commercial revenue. We are going to use a word that is what? Commercial revenue. Why we are calling profits generated from trade and commerce? One word I have already discussed with you, investment. What was the meaning of investments? याद आया कुछ? They used to purchase raw materials from India, from the revenues that they were collecting from India. याद आया? And they are calling it what? Investment. तो raw material तो आपको free में मिल गया, तो trade and commerce में जो आपका gain है, profit है, वो क्या हो गया? Unexpected growth. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? ये कैसे हुआ? इंडिया पे पॉलिटिकल कंट्रोल स्टैब्लिश, अदरवाइज यू विल हैव टू पे फॉर रॉ मटेरियल ना, आपको अपना पैसा देना पड़ता है। यहाँ क्या है? आपको खुद का पैसा नहीं खर्च करना पड़ता, यू डोंट हैव टू स्पेंड योर ओन मनी, दैट इज कॉमर्शियल गेन। इन दिस सेंस वी आर टॉकिंग इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट। मेरी बात समझ गया ना? नॉर्मल ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स को हम इसका हिस्सा नहीं मानेंगे, क्योंकि कोई कंपनी ट्रेड कर सकती है, बट हियर हाउ दे आर डूइंग ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स इन एन अनफेयर मीन्स। ठीक है, इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, राइट? परचेजिंग रॉ मटेरियल्स, परचेज ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल्स, परचेज ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल्स फ्रॉम द revenues that were revenues that were collected from India. Purchase of raw materials from the revenues that were collected from India. ठीक है, they are purchasing raw materials from that. Purchase of raw materials from the revenues that were collecting from India. It means free of cost. Free of cost. ये भी तो है drain of wealth. This is also a form of drain of wealth. Clear? Drain of wealth. Now, remittances. What is remittances? Company officials are doing their job in India, so they will send a part of their salary to their home. That is remittance. तो और इंडिया में क्या था? The company officials were given highest salary in the world. दुनिया में अगर कहीं सबसे ज़्यादा सैलरी मिलती थी तो वो कहाँ मिलती थी? इंडिया में। जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट थे, कलेक्टर्स, दे वर द हाईएस्ट पेड सैलरी क्लास ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। ठीक है, दुनिया में उतनी ज़्यादा सैलरी कहीं नहीं मिलती थी। तो वो पैसा रेमिटेंस के रूप में कहाँ जाएगा? इन द फॉर्म ऑफ रेमिटेंस इट विल गो टू ब्रिटेन. दिस इज ऑल्सो ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ. सो राइट दिस रेमिटेंस, राइट salaries, salaries of EIC officials, salaries of EIC officials in the form of remittances, it will go to Britain. ये ब्रिटेन जाएगा salary, it will go to Britain. Now next important point, ठीक है, प्रॉफिट ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, दैट इज डिविडेंड्स. इन्वेस्टमेंट इन रेलवेज बताया था ना, तो जो पैसा इन्वेस्ट होगा उसका प्रॉफिट भी कहाँ जाएगा? तो राइट दिस, प्रॉफिट ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, प्रॉफिट ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इन इंडिया, प्रॉफिट ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इन इंडिया, दैट इज अ काइंड ऑफ डिविडेंड. एग्जाम्पल में लिख सकते हो इन्वेस्टमेंट इन रेलवेज, इससे आप रिलेट कर पाओगे. प्रॉफिट ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इन इंडिया, profit on investments in India, profit on investments in India. ठीक है, तो इन्वेस्टमेंट से जो प्रॉफिट होगा दैट इज डिविडेंड. फॉर एग्जांपल इन्वेस्टमेंट इन रेलवेज, तो प्रॉफिट कहाँ चला जाएगा? ब्रिटेन. दैट इज ऑल्सो ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ. ओके, राइट. फिफ्थ पॉइंट, फिफ्थ पॉइंट इज, देखो सैलरी के साथ साथ यहाँ पेंशन भी लिख सकते हैं ना. कहाँ था? रेमिटेंसेस, सैलरीज प्लस पेंशंस ऑफ EIC ऑफिशियल. ये भी इंडियन ट्रेजरी से जाता था एक तरह से. salaries and pensions both will come. And one more point that is very important, and that is, okay, देखो, there are so many examples where you will see that company will ask the British government to give loan. East India Company in India will say that we are in financial crisis, we need loan from the British government, and British government will give loan on very high rate of interest. अच्छा, आज के टाइम में भी सोचो, आपके पास दिन भर में 10 बार फोन आता है, लोन ले लो भैया, लोन ले लो भैया, तो फायदा हो रहा है ना उसको, लोन दे के आपको, लोन देने वाले को फायदा हो रहा है. ठीक है, लोन लेने वाले की भी जरूरत पूरी होती है, बट लोन देने वाला तो फायदे में है, तभी वो बार बार कॉल कर रहा है. द सेम वॉज हैपनिंग. कंपनी विल क्राई दैट वी आर इन फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस, वी नीड लोन, एंड ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट विल ऑफर हेल्प एंड सपोर्ट. ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट विल गिव लोन एंड ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट विल चार्ज वेरी हाई रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. अब बताओ वो इंटरेस्ट भी पे होगा कहाँ से? कौन पे करेगा? हम पे कर रहे हैं. वो पैसा कहाँ चला जाएगा? Britain. That is also drain of wealth. So write this, okay, write this point, that EIC took loan from the EIC took loan from the British government on very high rate of interest. EIC took loans from the British government on very high rate of interest. EIC took loan from the British government on very high rate of interest. Took loans from the British government on very high rate of interest. Okay, right, and in the form of interest, right, in the form of interest, Indian money was drained to Britain. इंटरेस्ट के रूप में भी हमारा पैसा ड्रेन हो जाता था ब्रिटेन में. इन द फॉर्म ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, इंडियन मनी वॉज ड्रेन टू ब्रिटेन इन द फॉर्म ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. दैट इज ऑल्सो वन पॉइंट हियर. गॉट इट. अब एक वर्ड आता है, दिस इज ऑल फॉर्म्स ऑफ ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ. नाउ आई होप यू कैन इजिली अंडरस्टैंड. इतनी चीजें हैं. नाउ यूपीएससी वंस आस्क्ड अ क्वेश्चन दैट वाज होम चार्जेस. व्हाट वाज होम चार्जेस? तो देखो, होम चार्जेस इज आल्सो अ फॉर्म ऑफ ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ. राइट दिस, home charges. This is the PYQ of UPSC, home charges. It is also a form of drain of wealth. Now what are the components of home charges? Home charges में क्या क्या चीजें आएंगी? This was the question of UPSC, that what are the components of home charges? Home charges is also a form of drain of wealth. Now what are the components of home charges? So right, देखो, पहला कंपोनेंट क्या हो गया? Salaries and pensions of EIC officials. That is home charges. Salaries and pensions of EIC officials. ठीक है. Right, next point. Interest on loans. This will also come on home charges. Interest on loans. Okay. Right, third point. Okay. Dividends or profits. Dividends or profits to the. अच्छा एक बात बताओ, EIC was a JVC, joint venture company. So there are so shareholders of the company. So the company will get benefit, तो shareholders will get the benefit. और वो shareholders कहाँ रह रहे हैं? ब्रिटेन में. ये पैसा भी कहाँ जा रहा है? ब्रिटेन. So read this, dividends, dividends or profits from the company. Okay. So it was distributed among the shareholders. So that is also a part of home charges. Okay, dividend or profits of the company. Dividend or profit of the company was distributed among shareholders. So it was also part of home charges. It was also part of home charges. ये भी क्या था? Home charges था. Got it? So we have discussed this topic completely, but there is one more aspect, and I will just give an outline, because when we'll discuss Indian national movement, so we will need this concept. So that's why I am going to discuss one more concept here. Technically, we have finished this chapter. Okay. Now, if I say economic policies under British rule, ideas are striking in your mind. Okay. Economic impact of British rule in India. Which policy, which impact? Okay. What are the different forms of exploitation? Land revenue system of administration, drain of wealth, economic critique. Okay. So this chapter is complete, but I will discuss one more aspect, and that is, you can say that a theme that will be connected later also. ठीक है, वो यहीं पे नहीं finish हो रहा है. So the theme is, read this theme. I will give an outline of a theme. Read this outline of an important theme. Outline of an important theme. So here we need to discuss outline of an important theme. And what is this theme? So the theme is rise of modern industries. Right, this rise of modern industries. The theme is rise of modern industries under the British rule. Rise of modern industries under the British rule. This is the theme. Rise of modern industries under the British rule. Okay. Now we need to understand this theme. Okay. So when we talk about modern industries here, okay, first you tell me some points here. That the British are they determined for the development of modern industries in India? The answer is no. Modern industries का मतलब क्या है कि if they would have installed heavy industries in India, iron and steel industries in India, they did not do so. ऐसा किया नहीं. Development of modern industries में I have discussed a theme with you, and that is what this period 1813 to 1857-58. What we see, growth, draw the structure, growth of plantation industries, read this, growth of plantation industries, plus draw the structure, that is very important. This page what we see, growth of plantation industries, growth of plantation industries. Okay, now plus what we see here, development of physical infrastructure. Development of physical infrastructure, obviously it will support businesses, it will promote trade and commerce. Okay, development of physical infrastructure, this will take place. Development of physical infrastructure, this will take place. Will it help Indian businessmen also, yes or not? Indian businessmen, yes, it will help Indian businessmen also. So देखो, before this period what we see is that, okay, the main business class was British capitalists. British capitalists or East India Company, or you can say that the officials of EIC. They are the main business class here. And the Indian people are helping and assisting British, helping and assisting British in this task. Because British ka connection hai with the rest of the world. Okay, they are connected with market. Okay, so Indian class was basically helping and assisting British. But what happens, okay, in the second half of 19th century, read this, in the second half of 19th century, and now we can easily relate. After this, what will come? Second half of 19th century. This is second half of 19th century, right? In the second half of 19th century, right, an Indian capitalist class will emerge. An Indian capitalist class will emerge. An Indian capitalist class will emerge. Indian capitalist class यहाँ emerge होगा. In the second half of 19th century, an Indian capitalist class will emerge. Right, next point. The physical infrastructure that were developed by British in India will also help this Indian capitalist class. Okay. The physical infrastructure that was developed by British in India, okay, will also help this Indian capitalist class. Okay, it means now they are, okay, you can say that gaining a little bit prominence, but they are not very much prominent. थोड़े बहुत prominence हो रहे हैं. But what will happen in the next phase? That is our next chapter. What we see here is that, right, 1905 to 1907-08. Here I will discuss with you Swadeshi movement. यहाँ पे क्या डिस्कस करूंगा? स्वदेशी मूवमेंट. स्वदेशी मूवमेंट, दिस वाज एंटी पार्टीशन ऑफ बंगाल मूवमेंट. स्वदेशी मूवमेंट और एंटी पार्टीशन ऑफ बंगाल मूवमेंट. स्वदेशी और एंटी पार्टीशन ऑफ बंगाल मूवमेंट, दिस टॉपिक वी विल फर्दर डिस्कस. स्वदेशी, नाम ही है इसका स्वदेशी. इट मीन्स व्हाट? promoting स्वदेशी गुड्स, इंडिजिनस गुड्स, एंड बायकॉट ऑफ फॉरेन गुड्स. इसका ये सबसे प्रोग्राम इंपॉर्टेंट था. So here what we see, that promotion of indigenous goods, that is Swadeshi goods, Swadeshi cloth, plus boycott of foreign cloth, foreign liquor. Okay, ये main agenda था. This was the main agenda or main program. Okay, so this national movement here, this is what a kind of mass movement in Bengal. Okay, this will give a positive message to the Indian capitalist class, that now the Indian sentiments are in favor and support of nationalism. And in nationalism, this is one of the most important agenda, that we will promote what? Swadeshi, and we will boycott foreign goods. So if we will set up our independent enterprises, what are the chances? We can make enormous profits. We can replace the British elite class in India. Plus at the same time, we can support our ongoing national movements. ये बात आएगी कि नहीं? ठीक है, कौन चाहता है अंग्रेजों के अंडर में रह के काम करना? कोई नहीं चाहता. तो दिस विल हैपन. ओके, सो यू कैन राइट दिस दैट फ्रॉम दिस पॉइंट वी सी अ न्यू ट्रेंड. From this point we see a new trend, and that is the Indian capitalist class will also support. From this point we see a new trend, and that is the Indian capitalist class will also support. The Indian capitalist class will also support the ongoing nationalist movement. They will also support the ongoing nationalist movement. They will also support the ongoing nationalist movement. Okay, right, next point. They will also support the ongoing national movement. Right, next point. They will also try to set up their independent enterprises. They will also try to set up their independent enterprises. They will also try to set up their independent enterprises. They will also try to set up their independent enterprises. Okay, right, next point. And they aspire to replace British capitalist class with Indian capitalist class. They also aspire to replace British capitalist class with Indian capitalist class. They also aspire to replace British capitalist class with Indian capitalist class. British capitalist class को replace करते किसके साथ? Indian capitalist class के साथ. ठीक है, और इसके बाद क्या होता है? जितने भी movements हैं later, okay, one is non-cooperation movement 1922 1922. One is civil disobedience movement 1930 to 1932-34. Okay, quit India movement. Everywhere you see that promotion of Swadeshi was a kind of slogan. Charkha. Charkha had become what? Symbol of Indian national movement. और चरखा किस बात को इंडिकेट कर रहा है? वही कहानी, that Indian cotton textile industry को तबाह करके British industrialization को promote किया. Got it? Charkha became the symbol. Okay, so this was happening. Okay, and what we see that Gandhi has strong links with the Indian capitalist class also. This Indian capitalist class will support, or they will provide funds to the Gandhi so that Gandhi could do what? Gandhi could set up ashrams in India. So this is a part of this entire narrative that I will discuss in the next lectures. ठीक है ना? I will discuss this entire theme. So when I will discuss, okay, national movement, okay, I will finish the second part or third phase of national movement. I will discuss this topic again, that which industries developed by whom, how these industries were developed, what was the role of capitalist class in supporting our Indian national movement. Okay, this all we need to develop. So this is only a simple outline. So this topic is finished. Okay, now how many topics we have completed? Completed means पूरी तरह से complete कर लिया. One was India in 18th century. All the aspects we have discussed in very detail. So practice all the PYQs of this chapter. Then this part we have discussed British economic policies and economic impact of British rule in India. Now you will discuss all the PYQs. Okay, you will also try to write answers if you get some GS questions from these chapter, GS mains question. If you get some question, so try to write the answer of these questions. Okay, I am not discussing answers here deliberately because answer के लिए separately we will take a few sessions. ठीक है, एक बार finish करने के बाद after the gap of 10 or 15 days, okay, we will take a few sessions where with the help of slides we will discuss the answer formats. Okay, based on our class lectures, जो हमने पढ़ा है उसी के basis पे answer formats discuss करेंगे. Now the third topic which I am going to discuss with you from the next class, that is, right, third topic क्या discuss करेंगे, right, social and religious reforms in India in 19th-20th century. That will be the next topic. Social and religious reforms in India in 19th-20th century. ठीक है, इसके बाद हम डिस्कस करेंगे revolts and rebellions, including this revolt of 1857. Okay, ठीक है, this is the sequence. First we'll discuss this, then we'll discuss revolts and rebellions. Generally in GS, okay, the people read only revolt of 1857, but questions are asked from पीजेंट, ट्राइबल रिवोल्ट्स अंदर जाके पूछते हैं. तो हियर वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस इन वेरी डिटेल. यूपीएससी का क्वेश्चन भी था, ट्राइबल रिवोल्ट से जुड़ा हुआ क्वेश्चन था एक. ओके, सो दैट रिक्वायर्स होलिस्टिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग. सो विल डिस्कस all these topics, revolt and rebellions, and when I will discuss these two parts, then I will discuss one thing, and that is administration. I will discuss Hastings, Cornwallis, ठीक है, डलहौजी, कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट गवर्नर जनरल्स के बारे में बात करेंगे, ठीक है ना. बिफोर दिस पीरियड 1857 के पहले जो इंपॉर्टेंट है उनकी हम बात करेंगे. गॉट इट. एंड देन वी विल एंटर इनटू द इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट. बट आपको क्लास के साथ साथ क्या करना है, पीवाईक्यूज कंप्लीट कर लेना है. ये टास्क आपको साथ ही करना है, राइट. कंप्लीट द पीवाईक्यूज. इफ यू हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम यू कैन आस्क मी, ठीक है, जहाँ पे भी क्वेश्चन में प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है, राइट. गॉट इट. कोई डाउट है, क्वेश्चन है, हैव एनी डाउट, एनी क्वेश्चन? यस आकाश, आस्क योर क्वेश्चन. वन सेकेंड, वन. यस यस, नाउ प्लीज आस्क. अब आप ऑडिबल है, अब पूछिए. नाउ प्लीज आस्क. नाउ यू आर ऑडिबल. हम्म. 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 देखो, एक्चुअली इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ विच सेंचुरी, एक्चुअली व्हेन यू विल रीड चंपारण सत्याग्रह, ठीक है, 1917. So what was the issue in Champaran? 1917 is what? Beginning of which century? 20th century. So what was the issue in Champaran Satyagraha? The issue was the indigo, the problem of indigo peasants. और वो प्रॉब्लम क्या था? ओके, तीन कटिया सिस्टम वॉज देयर. तीन कटिया मीन्स कट्ठा, बिहार के जो लोग हैं वो जानते हैं. तो इफ विल डिवाइड लैंड इनटू 20 पार्ट्स, तीन मीन्स 3 पार्ट्स. तो आउट ऑफ 20 ऑन 3 पार्ट्स यू विल हैव टू डू कल्टिवेशन ऑफ इंडिगो. ऐसा कुछ सिस्टम था. रैयती में क्या मैंने बताया था, 1/4. यहाँ क्या था, आउट ऑफ 20 3 पार्ट, दैट इज कॉल्ड तीन कटिया. तो तीन कटिया सिस्टम से इंडिगो होता था. गॉट इट. व्हाट हैपेंड इज दैट, ओके, the indigo planters signed agreement with the indigo peasants. Indigo peasants are cultivating indigo for the planters, but suddenly in Europe synthetic dyes were discovered, and due to the discovery of synthetic dyes, okay, the demand of Indian indigo in Europe came down, and the planters did what, they stopped purchasing indigo from the indigo peasants. खरीदना बंद कर दिया, because in European markets the price demand was declined. Okay, and this is one of the most important reason. Okay, that was one of the most important concern, the concern of the some indigo peasants कि हमारे कुछ ड्यूज नहीं क्लियर हो रहे हैं, बहुत सारी चीज़ें थी. तो गांधी एड्रेस दिस. तो ये वही वही इवेंट है इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ 20th सेंचुरी. गॉट इट. तो देखो, जब आप सिस्टमेटिक वे में सारे चैप्टर्स को पढ़ोगे ना, तो क्वेश्चन को पढ़ते ही आप डिकोड कर दोगे इसमें लिखना क्या है. अच्छा, ये क्वेश्चन पढ़ के हम ट्रैप क्यों हो गए? क्योंकि हमने पूरी हिस्ट्री को बहुत डिटेल्स में डिस्कस नहीं किया. कई बार ये भी मेंटालिटी हमारी होती है कि द टीचर इज टेकिंग सो मच क्लासेस. बताओ ये किसके लिए बेनिफिशियल है, टीचर के लिए कि स्टूडेंट के लिए? इट इज गुड फॉर यू. मेरी बात समझ गया ना? So when you will read holistically, looking at the question, you can easily identify that which part I have to address in this question. And UPSC, whenever they will frame any question, they will choose the most important areas. जैसा अभी चंपारण से मैंने रिलेट किया, गांधी के सत्याग्रह से रिलेट किया, तो आपका क्वेश्चन रिलेट हो गया कि नहीं? एंड वाइल राइटिंग योर आंसर यू कैन connect different perspectives here, you can write different perspectives here, and that will make your answer better. ठीक है ना? तो ऐसे ही हम सारे इश्यूज को एक एक करके सॉल्व करेंगे, राइट. एंड यू विल बी एबल टू राइट द आंसर ऑफ एनी क्वेश्चन. एनी क्वेश्चन मीन्स एनी क्वेश्चन, कोई भी क्वेश्चन है आप आंसर लिख लोगे, ठीक है. गॉट इट. तो थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा, थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा. ओके, तो यू विल हैव टू, यस प्लीज. हम्म. Actually, Akash, in Maharashtra, na? Okay. In Maharashtra, when I will discuss socio-religious reform movement, okay, I will divide into three parts. One is Bombay, one is Western India, that is Maharashtra, and the one is South India. तो देखो बॉम्बे में और साउथ इंडिया में जो इशू सबसे ज़्यादा प्रोमिनेंट था वो इशू था लोअर कास्ट मूवमेंट्स, ठीक है ना, इन साउथ इंडिया ऑल्सो, इन बॉम्बे प्रेसिडेंसी ऑल्सो, ओके। तो दैट वाज द मोस्ट प्रोमिनेंट इशू इन साउथ इंडिया में, वो सबसे ज़्यादा प्रोमिनेंट था, साउथ में तो सबसे ज़्यादा प्रोमिनेंट था, ठीक है ना। तो दैट वी नीड टू लर्न देयर, वहाँ पे इस बात को समझेंगे कि जस्टिस पार्टी मूवमेंट क्या है, जस्टिस क्यों कहते हैं, मेरी बात समझ गया ना, ठीक है। ब्रिटिश स्ट्रक्चर ने कैसे हेल्प किया कास्ट रिजिडिटीज को कम करने में, बट ठीक है, उन्होंने डिवाइड एंड रूल पॉलिसी के रूप में भी इसको यूज़ किया, दिस ऑल्सो वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड, तो डिस्कस करेंगे, दिस इशू इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, डिस्कस ऑन दैट, ठीक है ना, ओके। Okay, welcome. Thanks to all of you.